Welcome to Psych with Sigmund, the show where we explore the fascinating world of psychology and uncover the secrets of the human mind. I'm your host Sigmund, and today we're going to talk about a phenomenon that affects us all, the halo effect. So, what is the halo effect? Simply put, it's a cognitive bias that occurs when our overall impression of someone or something influences our judgment of their individual characteristics. For example, if you think someone is physically attractive, you might also assume they're intelligent, kind, and talented, even if you have no evidence to support those claims. This effect can work in both positive and negative ways, leading us to make inaccurate judgments about people, products, or ideas based on our initial impressions. The concept of the halo effect has been around since the early 20th century, when psychologist Edward Thorndike first described it in his research on social perception. Thorndike noticed that people tend to form an overall impression of someone based on a few key characteristics, and then use that impression to make judgments about other aspects of their personality or behavior. This can lead to what's known as the halo error, where we overestimate the positive qualities of someone we like, or underestimate the negative qualities of someone we dislike. One of the major psychological theories that explains the halo effect is the concept of implicit personality theory. According to this theory, people have preconceived notions about what traits tend to go together, and these notions influence our judgments of others. For example, if we think someone is outgoing and friendly, we might also assume they're confident and competent, even if we don't have any direct evidence for those traits. Another important concept related to the halo effect is the idea of cognitive fluency. This refers to the ease with which we process information about someone or something. When we encounter someone who seems familiar, attractive, or charismatic, our brains tend to perceive them as more trustworthy and competent, simply because it's easier to process information about them. On the other hand, when we encounter someone who seems unfamiliar, unattractive, or awkward, our brains may perceive them as less trustworthy and competent due to the increased cognitive effort required to process information about them. Research has consistently shown that the halo effect can have significant consequences in various areas of life, including social relationships, education, and the workplace. For example, studies have found that teachers tend to give higher grades to students they perceive as more likable or attractive, even when their academic performance is equivalent to that of less likable or attractive students. Similarly, research has shown that job applicants who are perceived as more attractive or charismatic are more likely to be hired, even if they don't have the same level of qualifications as other applicants. In therapeutic settings, acknowledging the halo effect can also be beneficial. For instance, cognitive behavioral therapists often work with clients to identify and challenge biased thinking patterns, including those influenced by the halo effect. By becoming more aware of our own thought processes and learning to separate facts from impressions, we can develop more nuanced and realistic perceptions of ourselves and others. Imagine you're at a party, and you meet someone who seems charming, witty, and attractive. You find yourself laughing at their jokes and feeling drawn to them, even though you don't know much about their values, interests, or personality beyond the surface level. As you get to know them better, however, you start to notice some flaws in their behavior or character that challenge your initial impression. Perhaps they're not as empathetic or reliable as you thought, or maybe they have some quirks or habits that annoy you. In this scenario, the halo effect can lead us to overlook or downplay these flaws, simply because our initial impression of the person was so positive. We might tell ourselves that they're perfect or the one, even though we don't have a complete picture of who they are as a person. By recognizing the halo effect and taking a step back from our emotions, however, we can develop a more balanced and realistic view of others and make more informed decisions about who we want to spend time with or invest in. In addition to its impact on social relationships, the halo effect can also influence our perceptions of products, services, or ideas. For example, if we associate a particular brand with high quality or prestige, we might be more likely to assume that their products are superior, even if they're not necessarily better than those of competitors. This can lead to what's known as the brand halo effect, where our positive perception of a brand influences our judgments about specific products or services. To mitigate the halo effect and make more informed decisions, it's essential to separate our overall impressions from specific characteristics or qualities. When evaluating someone or something, try to focus on relevant facts and evidence, rather than relying on superficial factors like physical appearance or charisma. Additionally, be aware of your own biases and try to consider alternative perspectives or viewpoints. In conclusion, the halo effect is a powerful cognitive bias that can influence our judgments about people, products, and ideas. By understanding this concept and its implications, we can develop more nuanced and realistic perceptions of the world around us. Remember that our initial impressions are often incomplete or inaccurate, and it's essential to separate facts from impressions when making decisions. By recognizing the halo effect and its influence on our thoughts and behaviors, we can take steps towards more balanced and informed decision-making. Remember to like, share, and subscribe, and until next time, may your ego find balance between pleasure and reality.